Greetings, what is up, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is totally absent from the sky, and the magpie is casting. Well, that was a catchy rhyme, wasn't it? Never modify the intro too much, magpie. Anyway, coming to you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle featuring spawning in the west. It is going to be the Soviet forces of Brosras, and spawning in the east, it is going to be the Wehrmacht forces of Fredbrik. So yep, two fantastic players who I have cast before, both very able players. So this ought to be a good one. We'll have to see what's going to happen. The map, of course, is going to be Semiosky. Sadly, not the winter variant, which I do much prefer. I don't mind this map, but I find that this choke point here and this choke point here, just the action is a little too focused around those for my liking. The winter version kind of slightly ameliorates this by having these areas like frozen over, so you can just wander across, and that choke point isn't nearly so pronounced. Anyway, yeah, we're going to have to see what these two players are going to do. Let's see what's Fredbrik rolling with here. We got the Storm Doctrine, which I'm actually not super familiar with. I don't often see this one taken. You've got the Regal 43 in there. Interesting. We've also got the Lightning War Doctrine. This one we are slightly more familiar with. Used to be a pretty good counterpick against UKF back when they were super strong. And the German Mechanized Doctrine. Okay, yeah, always nice to have a spotting scope doctrine, and this one's a pretty good all-rounder. It looks like yeah, decent chances of a Lef 18 appearing in this game, I suppose. That'll be interesting, because Lef 18 I know has had some changes. I can't actually remember what they were, but anyway. Or am I thinking about the full balance patch? I think I might be thinking about the full balance patch notes. Anyway, looks like we've got an MG42 in a decent position. Grenadiers here in heavy cover. Gonna be putting the moves on these conscripts. They're suppressed for now. If the Grenadiers can take this building, that would be pretty spicy. Looks like they want to stick around and capture this point. This building's super important, of course. If you could get the Grenadiers in there, that means you could get the MG42 in there. And having an MG42 in this building does tend to dictate the pace of the early game in this area of the map. So, that would have been nice. Looks like conscripts and engineers going to be the units of choice so far for Brosras. Fredbrik going to be focusing on some Grenadiers after that MG. So pretty standard stuff here from both these players. Grenadiers are going to take the church, and that is going to make life pretty hard for the Soviet player here. Ought to be losing some conscripts here momentarily. MG42 is going to maneuver across to join these Grenadiers in the structure. Looks like Brosras getting a good spread of units up to the north, grabbing a lot of points here. Looks like he's prioritising the resource points over the VPs, which kind of makes sense at this stage in the game. Okay, there is no sun here, but it is a fine morning here in England. It's a good time. It's been a good summer, actually, a fine British summer. The wettest, in fact, since records began. But we also had a ton of sun, and we had a couple of heat waves as well, so it's been fantastic times. Everybody out there is just like Magpie, we just don't give a damn about the weather in England. And I'm just like, but I'm British, I can't help talking about it. Anyway, that is the sound of a mortar. That'll be the PM81, PM41, my bad. Hooning some rounds on in here. A nice counter to this well-entrenched MG42, so that ought to force Fredbrik to have to move the powerful German MG. Combination of Grenadiers and this MG42 though, getting in some decent damage against these conscripts. Brosras here trying to do a little bit of in-out micro to try and minimise their damage, but they are taking quite the hooning here. He's got to be careful, they're getting incredibly low actually. Oh my goodness me. That mortar... that mortar solidly hitting a friendly unit there, and now the Grenadiers can actually overrun, which puts this mortar in jeopardy. Almost certainly it'll have to fall back, or at least run back for now. He's coming forwards with it. That's a touch awkward. Where's this mortar going? Looks like he just wants to maximise the DPS off of the crew, actually. Relying on some engineers coming in with a Flammenwerfer from the rear. Grenadiers are going to have to GTFO. They're actually quite low. Let's see if we can get another lick of flame off of this flamer here. Not quite. So I imagine that the Grenadiers ought to be able to exfiltrate 4 more conscripts on their fallback path, though. Looks like they've kind of taken the path through the middle of the map, as they should. So they're going to get out of there just fine. Squad of Pioneers pushing in the south. Map control. Well, let's crack the tack here, and we can have a look here. Pretty sophisticated army already being developed here by the Soviet player. Mixing in a Maxim now, has the mortar with decent infantry support. For the Axis player, it really is just infantry with an MG, but it looks like he's looking to match the sophistication of the Soviet force here, adding in the GR34, and that will be moving onto the field here momentarily. For Fredbrik, let's just check the tech here. No sign of Battle Phase 1, but you have to think that that will be coming down soon. I can hear gunfire. Ah, that was all here. There we go. Have I got my headphones on the wrong way around? Sometimes I put my headphones on the wrong way around, and that basically means that everything that should sound like it's coming from one direction comes from another. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen occasionally.
A sector has been cut off.
Was that a mine? Is this an S minefield? Ooh, nice. That's a pretty early S minefield. Nice to see it getting some value as well. Of course, no metal detector. In fact, double flamethrower for the Soviet player, so not even going to have access to a metal detector for the time being. Brosras can scout that. Might be able to exploit it. Massive Soviet wave here pushing across the middle. Maxim up in the church means that map control in mid here should swing and start favouring the Soviet player momentarily. MG42 moving into the hood to respond to this. We've also got a GR34 set up at the back here, which is putting some nice shells onto this Maxim. Flamethrower gets in range of the Grenadiers. A little bit of in-out micro here. Oh, Fredbrik. Nice. Nice. I seem to remember being, like, moderately impressed with Fredbrik in the past. I'm desperately trying to remember his play. It has been a long time. It has actually been a long time. Oh, that GR34. Ever deadly. Easily my favourite of the early mortars, I think. I don't know, actually, the American mortar is pretty good, but the GR34 always does good damage, consistently vets up pretty rapidly. Everything the OKW player could dream of, lol. One day I'm going to shut up about the state of balance on the like, but it's just so, what's the word? Is it egregious? Egregious? I think that's how you pronounce that. It's just so egregiously bad, the state of balance on that gun. It throws the whole faction out, if you ask me. Anyway, yeah, Soviet forces right now getting fantastic map control, pushing in the south, pretty much in control of the south, although there are some Grenadiers up here looking to address that scenario, that situation. And seems like about a 50-ticket lead right now for the Axis player. That'll be owing to the fact that he was able to get that early map control with the MG in this church and things. Let's check the tech here for the Soviet player. So we've still just got the support weapon Campanara at this time. How much fuel has he got? Wow, he could have had a T-70 if he wanted it. And with 2 engineer squads, one of which falling back now, you have to think we're going to see a tech choice sooner rather than later. Let's just check the tech here for the Wehrmacht player. Okay, battle phase 1 just finishing up soon. We've got the medic bunker done. A couple of units here probably, well, at least the Grenadiers probably want to start moving out onto the field here. Little scuffle down in the south. You know what we didn't do at the start of the game was have a look at what the commanders the Soviet player is taking. Why don't we just do that? So we've got, what is this guy? This guy's the For Mother Russia guy. What is his actual name though? It's like, okay, I can't remember. Counterattack tactics. Goddamn, counterattack tactics. So what do we got here? Shock troops, recon overflight from Mother Russia, the mighty Stalin's hammer, and the KV-1. Interesting changes, actually, for the KV-1 being mooted in this full balance patch. Actually, that unit could be made useful. Ooh, these engineers have to get out, and they do, just in the nick of time. Yeah, so the KV-1 may actually be turning into a useful unit at some point this year. Time will tell on that one. Not before time as well, because, like, let's face it, the KV-1 has kind of basically been awful throughout its entire life in this game, which is quite a few years now. So I'm very much looking forward to the KV-1 having some uses. Actually, if I crack the TAC right now, you can see Soviet map control. Many units have been forced back. Basically just a pair of conscript squads flanking the map right now, and that is it. So I'm guessing Fredbrik, hopefully there's a window here where he can try and cement his control in mid-map. Actually, Fredbrik going for a half-track here, actually, a 251. Super interesting. I wonder what that will be for. He doesn't have the munitions for the Flammenwerfers, so that has to be for reinforcing. Yay! Oh, dude, I super love it when when Wehrmacht players go for a reinforcing half-track. It's like we almost never see it, and I find it hard to play the faction without, and since they are now my go-to Axis faction, I play a lot of games with the reinforcing half-track. I just always have since the game's release. I've always used the reinforcing half-track. It's always on hotkey 5 for me. And after a while, you just get really used to directing it to where it's needed, like ahead of time, like, you know, in anticipation of those casualties. And then you can top up those squads, and it just allows you to put on so much pressure. And I have to say, when playing RTS, I am most at home when I'm on the attack and kind of trying to keep my opponent on the back foot. I don't really like defending. I like to go for the kill. And for me, when playing as the Wehrmacht, the best way of doing that is by going for this reinforcing half-track. It just lets you, like I say, keep on so much pressure. It's really nice. Also, of course, you can load your units into it and quickly redeploy to meet your enemy's threats. Risky, but actually super useful. And if you've got like Panzer Grenadiers, can even be abusable too. It's quite fun. Anyway, looks like a pack gun going to be coming up next here for Fredbrik. We've got mixed fighting going on across the map right now, but looks like Brosras right now kind of spinning his wheels, struggling to get traction. Here comes that T-70. So there are actually very few counters out for this right now. And where is the half-track in all this? Okay, so the half-track does have to give the T-70 quite a lot of respect. These Grenadiers need a GTFO. Uh-oh, this is likely to be a squad wipe here in negative cover, and that will be a dead squad of Grenadiers here. So Brosras able to draw blood here. Fredbrik looking a little flustered in the face of this assault. Got Flammenwerfer troops moving across mid, and this T-70 actually without much in the way of infantry support that can help push. So where's the pack gun right now? Oh, just entering the map. So this T-70 likely to be able to force back one or two more squads, you've got to think, before the pack gun gets here. So just a little bit late, I guess, on that pack gun, because this T-70 could have been even earlier, and that would have been even more day-wrecking for Fredbrik, who... oh no, sorry, for a second I thought he'd gone ahead and chosen a commander, but he hasn't. This T-70 just getting a few more kills, up to 7.5 a level of vet already. So being quite the efficient unit. Fredbrik on top of this building, notices it's down to pixels of health, gets the MG out of there before it gets destroyed. Wow, this T-70 staying to the... Sorry, this half-track here staying to the bitter end, just out of line of sight here. Nicely done. And, you know, because of this half-track, that's why all this infantry has not had to, like, actually fall back across the map. But the pack gun actually a little exposed here. Can the T-70 make anything of this? I don't think so. Going to take a round to the rear armor. Ought to escape before another shot comes through. Yeah. So, balance is restored in the middle of the map here. And Fredbrik buys himself a moment or two to put his units back in favourable positions and fan back out. Brosras, though, making use of this, capturing ground up in the north, actually even has the far northern fuel points, so pretty useful stuff, forcing Fredbrik to spare one of his Grenadier squads, which, since he lost one, he doesn't really want to have to do, sending it all the way up there. MG42 now in a decent position, LMG42 Grenadiers also in a decent position, Pack 40 actually not set to target, oh no, it is set to target vehicles, okay. In a decent position, incendiary rounds actually coming down here, going to force those conscripts back. There is also a demo charge in this position here, so we'll have to keep our eye out and see if Brosras is able to reap the rewards of that. T-70 and some engineers, a sensible choice actually, sent up here to deal with these Grenadiers. This demands a response of a certain type, which Brosras just does not have available to send up here right now. Just doesn't have another pack gun or any Panzer Grens with Shreks or anything like that, so well, that's annoying. In fact, Panzer Grenadiers with Shreks might be a reasonable choice for his next unit. Let's just quickly check the tech here for the Axis player. No sign of Battle Phase 2. Yeah, so I think I like Panzer Grenadiers with Shreks right now. Just, he needs like another AT unit, because the pack gun can only be in one place at a time, and I don't really like going for a second pack gun. Yeah, because a pack gun requires a certain amount of support, which is easy to do if the pack gun's in mid, but if you're sending it to north, I'm just not sure he can split the rest of his infantry in such a way as to support a pack gun in mid and one in north, so anyway. We got a little kerfuffle down here in south, looks like squad of Grenadiers with the reinforcing half-track. Oh, hang on, T-70 going to try and engage into this pack gun. Uh-oh, that could be a dead T-70, he's going to scurry back. Oh, those changes to the C-70, meaning that it has just enough health now to weather 2 pack gun hits, and that is actually going to mean that the light tank survives. Going to be off the front line for a while whilst it repairs, though. Oof, that was super close. But this game getting pretty grindy now for Fredbrik, who's beginning to fall behind in the VPs. Soviet map control just pretty spicy right now. Brosras, his tendrils, his units spreading out all the way across the map, and Fredbrik needing to commit pretty much all of his units to mid just to try and cling on here. And he's going for another mortar. Okay. I don't know, because mortars are fairly static and require a lot of support, so you have to feel like that mortar is probably going to be sent to mid as well. And I feel like right now Fredbrik needs a little more map presence. Like a 222 scout car would be a reasonable choice, because that would, you know, he could support these Grenadiers. It can harass the T-70. You know, he can respond to his opponent's threats. It can transition from north to mid or from mid to south like pretty easily. But anyway, looks like an anti-vehicle grenade going to make a connection onto this reinforcing half-track, which does force it back. The T-70 right now is pretty much repaired, actually, so that unit could come back in and try and exploit this. If you spin the T-70 down here where this Maxim's going and come around here for a flank, that would actually be really nasty. It's a bit of a gamble. You're hoping that there's no sort of telemines or anything else around here. But if you do manage to come across from that angle, that could be really nice. There are Grenadiers here right now, so it wouldn't work, I guess. he would get spotted at the very least and possibly fousted. Anyway, looks like the T-70's gonna commit up to north here to try and police these units. Gonna kite back, should get out of range of this Faust before it ever happens. Yup. And super annoying, this T-70 getting so much value. 9 kills, nearly 2 stars of that on that unit. And Fredbrik here just slightly behind, but this game's still super close, you know. He's actually only behind by, what, 15 VPs right now. And, you know, the army composition's more or less even. Oh, MG42 gets chalked off by the mortars there. Are there 2? Yeah, there are 2 PM41s out. Okay, yeah, because that is a lot of mortar fire coming in against the Axis player. I guess that's perhaps why he thought he would step up to a second GR34, try and counter those Soviet mortars. Oh, dearie me, this mortar actually pretty exposed. Going to be taking shots into this fight. Oh, so risky. So risky. I was worried for those grenadiers there for a second. Oh, dearie me, this T-70 is going to clear them up. Uh-oh. Things kind of going from bad to worse here. The problem is this T-70. There's just not enough anti-vehicle in this composition for Fredbrik. He's kind of got Panzergren money now, but not enough munitions for the Shreks. Let's just check the tech here quickly. Alright, so Battle Phase 2 has just now finished, but he doesn't really have enough fuel. Uh-oh, oh god, now we've got a KV-1. Counterattack tactics is the pick here. For Mother Russia has been used. Soviet units pushing all across the map. I think Brosras here, smelling that blood is in the water, comes in with the KV-1 and the T-70, wants to get on top of this Pat gun, and if the Pat gun goes down, which you have to think it surely will here, that's going to leave Fredbrik in a terrible place with just no AT. All of his units just totally susceptible to this KV-1 and the T-70. A reasonable amount of damage coming through from Faust and so on. MG42 gets slain. And now the overrun for the Soviet player is occurring. The half-track desperately trying to get back. T-70 has absolutely no qualms about overrunning across this bridge. That seems a little risky. Picks up a GR34 mortar as well. And now all of a sudden it's gone from being like 55 Axis over 40 Soviet supply to 37 Axis under 60 Soviet supply. And just a relentlessly well put together assault there from Brosras. He knew what he needed to crack this position, and also this position was pretty much all Fredbrik had going for him. So if this position here gets crushed, that pretty much is the Wehrmacht player, you know, with no map control. And the problem with Semiosky is if you lose map control, if you have to fall back past this point as the Eastern spawning player, it's just so hard to come back onto the map because, well, you have to come through this choke point, like I kind of said at the beginning. So yeah, Brosras here with a really well-judged assault. He just knew he had to crack this position. Comes in, takes the commander pick at the very moment he knows he can grab the KV-1. Comes on in with 4 Mother Russia, making a really pretty good use of this commander, to be fair. Breaks this position, kills like an MG42, kills a Pat gun, kills a mortar, forces everything to fall back. And like, what do you do here as Fredbrik? Like, what do you do in the face of such reckless Soviet armor? That's just a really hard position. And I think basically this game, the problem from Fredbrik's position, I think, is that he built the half-track before a Pat gun. If he'd have built the Pat gun first, then a half-track, then the T-70 doesn't bite so hard. And then you get your second Pat gun, or there was a moment here where he had like Panzergren, Muni, and manpower earlier on in the game. And I think that would have been a really nice choice, because that way you can send a squad of Panzergrens. So that would be instead of the second mortar, you go for those Panzergrens, definitely. And that way you can send the Panzergrens and a Grenadier squad up to the north. That means that Brosras can't just send the T-70 and a squad of engineers or conscripts to like counter everything you send to the north. So I guess I like that composition better, because you need some kind of hard AT to poke north, and you need at least a Pat gun in mid. I guess if you're Fredbrik. So I suppose those are the choices I would have made. And it's that standard old trap with Wehrmacht, you know, if you don't have enough AT with Wehrmacht, you just die. And I mean, we've all had it as Wehrmacht players, and it's around about this stage in the game. It's sort of like 9 to 14 or 15 minutes. If you don't have enough AT and your opponent is able to kill your 1 Pat gun or your 2 Pat guns or whatever it is that you have at that stage in the game, you basically just lose. So that's pretty much what happened in this game. Yeah, Brosras calling in the KV-1 for mighty times. Just as I was saying, oh, the KV-1's super useless, like, oh my god, I'm looking forward to the autumn, you know, to the full balance changes so that we can get this KV-1 to be a little bit better. But you know, if all you need is a tank and it doesn't really matter if that tank is very good or very bad because your opponent doesn't have very much AT, then the KV-1 will suffice, and we've seen that in this game. So nicely done here from Brosras. A pretty well-inspired, well-conceived assault here. Gonna finish off Fredbrik, and a nice victory there for Brosras. So yeah, I guess that does in fact conclude this battle. I'm actually on the lookout for some Steel Division Normandy 44 replays so that I can cast a few games of that, because it's just an awesome RTS. It's just really cool. It's very tactically nuanced, and it actually has a lot of the sort of mechanics and elements that you see in Company of Heroes 2 as well. So yeah, if anybody has an idea of where I can get some good replays for that game, please do let me know. That would be super useful. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and this for now is Magpie842 signing out.